All right. Hey, everybody. We're live. This is Brita from the Firehose Project. I'm a student advisor here at the Firehose Project. So a bunch of you who have already signed up for our free bootcamp prep course have probably gotten an email from me or maybe talked with me at some point. So great to have you all joining today. And I'm really excited to talk a little bit more about web development in general and our program and provide some more information. So before we get started, if you have any questions, you can feel free to enter them in the chat box on the side, and we'll be answering some of those live as we can get to them. If you have any other questions, you can email those into questions@thefirehoseproject.com. And so I can answer those at any time. Those go to me, and I would love to hear your questions or thoughts and feedback. Off by talking a little bit about kind of why you might want to go into web development, what that industry job trends are looking like, and kind of what it's like to actually be a developer. And then we'll jump into our program. And so what we teach, we'll go over some logistics right off the bat and the cost of the program, our curriculum, kind of our teaching style, what you'll be covering as you how we give you real world experience, as well as the support that you'll get throughout the program. So we're going to go over all that in this info session. Like I said, if you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat box on the side or shoot us an email at questions@thefirehoseproject.com. We'll get started right away, hop right in. Thank you again for joining. We are the Firehose Project, so we're a full stack professional web development bootcamp. So we've been training hundreds of students since we started teaching and training students to become full stack web developers. And so a little bit about us before we get started. We actually were founded in Boston. So we started off on the East Coast, and we started off by teaching in-person courses. And so we were teaching at places like Harvard, Babson, Brown, RISD, Carnegie Mellon. And what that helped us do was get a lot of really quick in-person feedback and a really quick feedback loop as we started, teaching more and more students. So we were able to learn very quickly how students learn best, how we can explain concepts best, give you the right types of projects and challenges, as well as when to provide the right content at the right time. So we'll talk a little bit more about how we actually do that on our platform and in our course, but that's just a little bit about how we were able to get to that point. So now, as you can tell, we are actually located in San Francisco, so that's what most of summer looks like in San Francisco. We've got that fog layer and the sunshine on top. And so we're currently on the West Coast. We've obviously expanded to an online coding bootcamp. We'll talk a little bit about the benefits of learning online. And why, why that might be a great program for you and kind of why online versus in-person makes a difference. So to get started, let's talk a little bit about kind of web development in general as a job and what the kind of industry trends and job trends are doing. So taking a look kind of on a whole, there'll be 1 million more jobs than students by year 2020. And this is for kind of web development, computer science. So didn't pull that number out of nowhere. That's actually from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. So you can see here that there's a huge shortage of skilled programmers for all of these jobs. And so what that means is that more and more people are looking to train up with things like boot camps and to fill these jobs. We've also got some data on kind of the median annual wage as well. And that's obviously going to vary a bit, but that's kind of the data from a holistic view there. And so taking a look at what those jobs look like. So what is actually in that kind of gap in that last graph? What does it mean to fulfill one of those jobs? So web developers create web apps. And for those of you who may not be familiar with exactly what that means or how that's different from other kind of programming or computer science, a web app is basically an application that you visit online, and as a user you can kind of navigate around and give commands or input and have the web app react. So if you think back to kind of when the internet was just starting, what it really did was it hosted documents online, and the URL was the way that you could look up a document and basically view a static page. So you'd be able to, go visit a document, scroll down the page, and that was it. Now we all know that things are a lot different. You can log online and do almost anything, it seems. And you've got things where you have, accounts that you're logging into. You can look at maps in real time. You can look at satellites. You can satellite images. You can, make payments online. You can shop online. So these are some examples of web apps. So Yelp is a great example. If you start thinking about like the kinds of features that are included here, those are the types of things that make up web apps. So for Yelp, you have a user login, you can have commenting. So as the person visiting that website, I can actually update the website with a comment. You can scroll around and hone in with different filters and what you want to appear on the map. So all of those types of features and interactivity are what make up web apps, and that's what we're training our students as full stack web developers to create. And so full stack basically means that you're working on both front end and back end coding. So you're able to, design a user interface, so what the user is actually seeing on the screen, as well as work with databases and the logic on the back end as well. And so web development, the reason why that job demand is so high is because it is prevalent and needed across almost every industry. So I know we all kind of think of, or at least I think of, like Facebook and Twitter and all these kind of big tech companies and think of kind of web development in that sense, but it really spans across almost every industry. So whether it's transportation and how we hail taxis and book flights and book hotels, now we've got Airbnb and we have websites that will kind of compile all the different flights or hotels, and you can search through them and make sure you're getting the best deal. R&D, healthcare. So both, software that doctors and clinics are using, as well as, thinking of like logging into an online portal for a medical provider or an insurance provider and being able to manage your healthcare online. Retail is more and more moving to an online space. So whether it's just shopping online or the subscription model that we're seeing so often, same thing with finance, agriculture even, it has a ton of programming and development as we're looking to become more efficient and really develop in agriculture, as well as government, so defense, all of these different industries. And so what that means is that these jobs are just everywhere, whether it's working for a company that does this solely, like Airbnb, for example, or working for a company that has in-house developers to manage their online apps. So here are some examples, as we can see, of where this all takes place, whether it's, travel, healthcare, or, going online to order a pizza from Domino's and watching it, customizing it online and watching it be delivered to your door. So now that we've got a little bit of an overview of kind of what that looks like, we'll dive right into how long is the Firehose program and how much does it cost. So these are the most common questions that we get. Makes sense. Everybody needs to know kind of the logistics. So in our program, we provide the most value in a flexible, competitively priced full stack web developer bootcamp. We really stand by this and we really believe this. We provide not only the most kind of premium content, giving you a really solid foundation in computer science fundamentals, including algorithms, giving you real world experience through team projects and an agile workflow, and then giving you a multi-layered coordinated support throughout the whole program. But we also add flexibility and make it really competitively priced to make it more accessible to students. So you'll start off with our free bootcamp prep course. If you have not already signed up for that, I definitely recommend it. It is completely free, and it basically gives you a chance to practice your skills and explore how we set up our curriculum and our program. So in the free bootcamp prep course, you'll learn a bit of HTML and CSS, and you'll dive right in and you'll start coding with Ruby. And even in the free bootcamp prep course, you're going to be getting code review and feedback from our Firehose team so that you can continue improving your skills and getting helpful tips on how you can improve your coding. And then once you do complete the free bootcamp prep course, there's going to be a couple challenges along the way. We can actually officially accept you into our full program. So once you complete the third Ruby challenge, we give you the thumbs up, we can accept you into the full bootcamp. So once you're accepted into the full bootcamp, there are two different choices for a timeline or pacing. And so each PACE still covers the same curriculum, but it's going to be obviously spread out over a different amount of time. So we have our moderate PACE course, which is 42 weeks, and our accelerated PACE course, which is 22 weeks. So that breaks down to roughly 10.5 months for the moderate PACE course and 6.5 months for the accelerated PACE course. So for moderate, that's going to be about 12 to 15 hours per week of coding. And for the accelerated, it's going to be about 25 to 35 hours per week of coding. And so this is something that's pretty important to think about as you're considering joining. We do, we ask that students hold themselves accountable to really putting in the time to learn how to code in the course. When you put in these hours is totally up to you. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but these are kind of minimum requirements in order to graduate on time and go through the course. That being said, we do have a bunch of flexibility built into the course. We know that things come up and life happens, so we can always help out with that as well. So we do allow students to code on your own schedule, meaning that when you put those hours in each week is totally up to you. As long as you have Wi-Fi and a machine that you're coding on, you can code basically whenever and wherever throughout the week that it works for you. So we have students that have full-time jobs and families, as well as other hobbies and obligations and life, and they're able to go through both the accelerated and the moderate pace course. It takes a lot of dedication and self-discipline, but it's absolutely possible. And so it's really just a matter of having that drive and passion to learn how to code and putting in the time and kind of carving out the time to do it. So in terms of tuition, our moderate course starts at $8,500, and the accelerated PACE course starts at $6,500, and those are in US dollars. So we do have various payment plans. So the moderate PACE course payment plans start at $900 a month, and the accelerated for $1,000 a month over the course of the program. We also do have financing options available through our partner Climb Credit. So you can basically take out a student loan, and I can send out some more information, or you can ask for some more information, or find that on our website at thefirehoseproject.com/tuition. Right, we're in the final process of finalizing our moderate PACE course financing, so we actually only have that available for the accelerated PACE course, but should have updates on that soon. And financing is currently only available in the US. So if you're outside of the US, it's a great option to talk with your local bank to see if you can take out a personal loan or an education loan, but we unfortunately do not have a financing partner outside of the US directly. So all this being said, we promise you the most value for your time, money, and commitment. We definitely ask a lot of you as a student from, a time commitment and being dedicated and self-discipline. And we know that that's a lot, and many people are at points in their life where they're trying to change careers and start new things. So we ask that of you, and we promise you kind of the most value back in return. So let's take a look at what it's like to be a student in the program. So we always focus on giving you a really valuable real-world coding experience, because that's what makes our students the most competitive web developer candidates. So everything that we do in the program is based off of how dev teams do it in the real world and how programmers code in the real world. So our goal is always to prepare you so that you have this transfer of knowledge after the course, and you're not left feeling you cannot apply the things that you've learned. And we do that through a number of ways. So hands-on project-based learning. Our students build out several apps throughout the program. So in week 1, you'll start off by building a database-powered quotes generator. And you're going to learn how to do things like build a form to take user input and store the user input in a database and make sure you validate that user input, and then generate that back onto the screen. And you'll learn how to set up error messages and a bunch of different features like that. So this is week 1. So you're also going to be designing, working off of a wireframe and designing a simple user interface as well. So you'll get that full stack experience with databases in week 1. And the way that we teach that is we're going to be showing you how to build out these different apps and concepts, and we're teaching you along the way, explaining how it's working, and you're coding alongside those lessons. And then once we get to the point where you've kind of started to build out this app, we're going to zoom out and look at everything on a much higher level, and explain how all the pieces fit together. And that's when students start to have those aha moments when things really click for them. And we'll also talk about how our support and our mentorship aids that as well. So the curriculum, we teach Ruby on Rails and JavaScript. And we have a really strong focus on computer science fundamentals. So that means that we're going really in depth on algorithms, data structures, object-oriented programming, test-driven development, and we even start with wireframing and how to work off of wireframes and pick those apart and kind of always refer to those. So so students of our course will graduate knowing 2 different programming languages, and you will build out apps in purely JavaScript as well as Ruby on Rails. But what's really important is that you're learning all of these computer science fundamentals that are versatile and transferable across any type of programming language or project that you may be working on. And so that's why our students actually graduate and go off to get a number of different jobs, whether it's, we've had a student get a job as an iOS developer, as a Java developer, in languages that we didn't necessarily teach in the course. And it's because we focus on that foundation and on teaching you to be a really self-sufficient programmer. So that means reading documentation and kind of learning how to learn. So it's very much a teach you how to fish mentality. And so in the final 8 weeks of the course, the students spend time working as part of an agile team. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the info session, but that's a key component of giving students that real world experience where they're able to completely kind of simulate a dev team environment and benefit from that both in their own learning as well as once they go on to apply for developer roles. So we'll come back to that shortly and talk a little bit more about why that's so important, both for your development as a student and getting jobs. So that being said, a lot of programming you're expected to learn on the job. And so this is something that we know as a reality, and we take the time to set our students up for success. So learning, we always encourage you to read your own documentation and really understand what you're doing versus just following along the lessons. And so we really are always having you do that hands-on work and applying what you're learning along the way. So as students are going through the program, a really key component of our course and our bootcamp is the coordinated support that you get on many different levels. So we have kind of layers of support. And so starting kind of at the basis of how do you get that support when you need it. Our technical forum is a great way. I always equate this to kind of raising your hand in class to ask a question. So at the bottom of each lesson, we have a technical forum that's manned by or monitored by our Firehose team, so ambassadors and engineers. And this is where you can basically, as you're coding along through the lessons, ask a quick question. You can see here some examples of questions that students have asked, and you can get really quick response time for help. So you're never kind of stuck coding alone. You're never stuck spinning your wheels. We know that when you're learning how to code, error messages can be really intimidating, and we don't want you to be stuck for hours on end because of a simple typo or something like that. So this is our way to get you quick help. A lot of students will also notice that you can, go through and see common questions where people get commonly tripped up and help yourself, kind of self-service if you see that other students have asked those questions previously. We also have a pretty vibrant and diverse Firehose community. So we have student Slack channels, student community pages, and this is where you can also ask questions. You can reach out and see if people want to pair program. You can talk about job applications. And so there's kind of always chatter going on in there. And that's where we have students, alumni, mentors, the Firehose team, always helping each other out and kind of giving suggestions and talking about the projects that they're working on and sharing their experiences. We also have our community pages, where students will post, they'll introduce themselves and they'll post blog posts, they'll ask about kind of general questions about the coding industry or the job market, stuff like that. So we have a pretty vibrant and diverse community there as well. We have students from all different backgrounds all over the country and all over the world, really adding diverse perspectives and helping each other out and just communicating in a really awesome and supportive way. We also hold weekly office hours. So this is where you can call in and ask questions. Marco and Ken, our co-founders, our CEO and CTO, host office hours. And it's a really great time for students to dial in and basically sit in on a group session where you can ask questions, you can hear other students' questions, additional support, and kind of sometimes it's helpful just to chat through things, and this is the great opportunity for that. If you ever cannot attend info sessions, we do always record them and annotate them so they're searchable and send them out to students as well. The info sessions are the one thing in our program that is held at a specific time each week, but we do, like I said, always send those out, and a lot of students actually prefer to watch it that way, and so you can always watch recordings of those as well. And then so kind of working up the layers of support in our program, your personal mentor. So all of our Firehose mentors, you will work one-on-one with one of our Firehose mentors, and the weekly or bi-weekly mentor sessions, depending on which course pace you're in, are a great time to really accelerate your skills each week. So students in mentor sessions will spend time pair programming or going over challenges from that week. It's a great way to kind of keep higher level questions throughout the week and go through all of them and really chat it out with an experienced mentor. So our mentors are all programmers with years of experience. So we kind of work with each one of them to bring them on board and make sure that A, they have really great programming experience, and B, that they're great at working with students. So you can see some examples of our mentors and read little bios. Actually, Ken's is on this image. And you can read a bit more about them on our website at thefirehoseproject.com/mentors. And the way that we match you with a mentor is actually in your first week of the program. We'll ask you a couple questions about your coding background and your coding goals, and then we'll match you with a mentor that's going to bring the most to the table. So whether you're looking to start your own entrepreneurial project or get a job as a developer, and then of course we'll look at a few things like availability and time zones and all of that. So mentors are an amazing way that really help you kind of add some insight and accelerate your skills each week. They're also, it's a great time in mentor sessions to work on like a mock interview, talk about job applications, talk about the kind of industry. Mentors have often been on both sides of the technical interview, so they're really great resources as you're learning how to code and preparing to apply for jobs. So again, pair programming, working on challenges, practicing interviewing, and really just preparing for your career, all things that you can do in your regular mentor sessions. So as I said, we do have a global talent community, and one of the greatest things about our program is our amazing students and mentors and alumni. And when you join the Firehose project, you have lifetime access to our global talent network. So you're able to kind of continue to network with all of these folks through the community that you build up at the Firehose project. So how does the Firehose project prepare students for the real world? As I mentioned before, one of the biggest pieces that really helps our students get jobs and prepares them is collaborating on the team project. So during the team project, you're going to be building out a much more complex web app as a team of usually about 4 Firehose students, plus or minus, under a team lead who's a Firehose mentor. And so you'll basically be simulating everything that a dev team does, whether it's using the tools like Trello, GitHub, collaborating on GitHub, and setting up a sprint timeline and a schedule, having weekly meetings to talk about blockers and what you're going to work on next. And so you get that experience working on a team before you go out and apply for jobs. And what that means is that as you're building out this complex app, you're able to talk about the code that you wrote as a part of a team, but you're able to talk about that workflow as well and really demonstrate that you would make a great hire as a part of a dev team. So that is a key component that allows students to kind of reverse engineer that technical interview. Rather than spending the entire interview doing whiteboarding challenges, you can talk about how you took a large project and broke it down into components and the pieces that you worked on and go over your code for that. And so our students have a lot of different goals coming into the program. We do have both an entrepreneurial track and a job seeker track. And so I would love to hear from all of you to kind of get a better sense of what your goals are and talk about those different tracks. So I will, at the end of this info session, kind of tell you how to sign up for a one-on-one call. And like I said, you can always shoot an email. But many of our students are looking to get jobs as developers on a dev team, usually after the program. And so the big question is, if I sign up for this program and really dedicate myself to learn how to code, will I get a job after the bootcamp? So we support the career change with a specialized job prep track. And we built out this job preparation track with a lot of feedback from recruiters and hiring managers, and with the goal to give you all the information, basically a blow-by-blow kind of playbook of how the job application process works and how you can really crush it and do it efficiently. So here's an example of some of the lessons excuse me, from the job prep track. And so we're starting, what you can see here is kind of starting in lesson 13, but we start at the very beginning of how to set up your job search, how to use your network to search for jobs and make those connections, and then also how to set up your online profiles. So for example, creating your profiles in place like AngelList, where recruiters are looking for candidates, how to set up an online kind of developer persona. So early on in the program, we talked to students about blogging about code, and we really encourage our students to blog as they're going through the course. And the reason being is that, one, it helps our students kind of process their thoughts, and it's great to be able to look back at how far you've come throughout the program. But it also sets up this online persona of you and this kind of online personal brand as a really passionate developer. And so throughout the course, our students are doing that. And then in the job prep sections, we also partner with Brand Yourself, which is an online brand kind of, it helps people kind of to hone in on their online brand. So it'll basically scour your online presence, and you can go through your Twitter account, your Facebook account, make sure it's all polished and shiny, get rid of anything that's maybe reflects less favorably, but just get like a holistic view of your online persona. And then we go through all of the steps of kind of going through the job application. So crafting a resume, going through phone screens, writing cover letters, and we break down completely what a technical interview looks like. So technical interviews are really different, can be really different than a typical like business role interview or something like that. They're gonna be probably giving you a challenge to work on, and they wanna see how you think on your feet and how you problem solve. And so the goal of that isn't to necessarily, know how to solve every problem, but it's to be able to think kind of logically when you're faced with any problem. And so that's what our program really prepares you for. And then these job prep lessons are kind of going over what that looks like, giving you additional practice and all of that. And so we go through with very actionable lessons each step of the job prep, so that our students are really prepared. And one thing to note also is that students do get lifetime access to all of the current curriculum as well as job prep lessons. So it acts as a really great resource as you're going through the job search process. And even students refer back to the lessons a lot in their first roles, second roles, and so on as developers when you're looking up certain features that you want to build out and whatnot. So lifetime access to the current curriculum and the Global Talent Network is also a huge resource for our students as they're going off and getting jobs as developers. So is this all enough? Our graduates have gone on to join a number of different organizations as well as start their own projects. And that's because they have a solid foundation as a web developer, as a in computer science. They're learning how to apply it across a broad variety of projects and languages, and they're really becoming self-sufficient developers that are never ceasing to learn and continue developing as individuals. So we have a bunch of examples of our alumni on our website. So if you go to thefirehoseproject.com/alumni, you can actually scroll through a lot of their stories and read what they're doing before, where they are now, and you can click through to a lot of their reviews as well. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely do so. It's really helpful you can kind of get a sense of where our alumni are continuing on to and what they have to say about the program that got them there. And so ultimately, we are very outcomes focused. We want all of our students to be set up for success, whatever that looks like for you. Again, we have students going off to create their own businesses, their own projects, freelance, get jobs as developers. And our goal is to give you the foundation and the springboard to go off and do that. So to be self-sufficient, to know how to ask the right questions, to look up answers, to do research, and to write great code. So what's next? If this is something that you're interested in learning more about, definitely sign up for the prep course if you've not already. Again, that's going to be a great preview for our program, and it does also act as our admissions process. I would love to speak with you if you're interested in signing up for the course, want to learn more about the course. Like I mentioned, we have 2 different tracks, the entrepreneur track and the job seeker track. So setting up a call to talk a little bit about your coding goals, what interests you, is a great way for me to kind of give you some more information on those different tracks and what might be a good fit for you. And I'm always happy to answer any questions, whether it's about web development in general, the industry, your background, if you think this is a good fit or not, and really just provide more information. So as a student advisor, my goal is to make sure that you have all the information you need to make good decisions and see if this is a good program for you. So thank you so much for joining. I really look forward to hearing from you. So please reach out via email, shoot me an email, set up a call, and I would love to chat and learn a little bit more about you, as well as give you, any information and answer any questions about the program. So thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate having you visit today and look forward to hearing from you soon. And in the meantime, sign up for the free Bootcamp prep course if you haven't already, and happy coding.